And it's playoff time, Vikings fans. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the episode. It's Vikings Uncovered with me, the RabbitDad, at FFRabbitDad on Twitter and on Blue Sky and on Reddit. Still waiting to expand. We'll see. In the meantime, let's talk Vikings football. Yes, the Vikings did not win last week. Okay. Let's just get through that. Let's rip that Band-Aid off right now. They lost 31-9. Darnold had his worst game in the season, only completing 172 yards. Probably his worst game. No, 100. It was less than 170 yards. My opinion, worst game he's had in a full game start since November 7th, 2021, when he threw 16 completions on 33 passing attempts for 172 yards and 3 interceptions. That was bad. That was with an entirely different team. He's been a different quarterback all year. Everybody's allowed to suck once or twice. And yeah, he had a bad game earlier this year against the Jags. We still won. Doesn't matter. Defense came through. Defense was rocking this game for the majority of the game until it got to the end, where they basically just kind of mailed it in. Like, all right, we're not winning this game. Save some reps. Give some people some rest. Get ready for the next one. We know we're playing next week. So Darnold had a bad day. The defense was very strong in the first half. My biggest gripe about the game I'm going to say it right now. I know I apologized on this podcast, on this episode, on this show a couple weeks ago to O'Connell for not completely having faith in him. I'm not rescinding that apology, but I considered it. I'm not trying to be the dick here. I'm not trying to sound like a jerk or be, clickbaity or whatever, but I put not 90, 70% of that loss on KOC. The first quarter, 3 rushing attempts, averaging over 5 yards a carry. Sure, I was only on 3 carries, but it was 3 carries, only 3 carries, and twice in those first 2 drives where we ended up not scoring a touchdown against a team that had given up a touchdown 1 out of every 20 attempts. Last week I said it was the highest percentage. It was actually the second highest. Just over 5% of their allowed carries turned into touchdowns. They're still the third highest with just almost up to 5. It's 4.98% or something. It's still ridiculous because the next 2 teams have like 500 carries against each other each. There's no reason the Vikings shouldn't have been running the ball more. All right. Defense was great until late in the third quarter, and when the score got out of control, and we just basically mailed it in at that point. Fine. All right. I ripped off the Band-Aid. We're done talking about last week's performance. Let's get on with it. Okay, we're not done. We're going to highlight a few bright points. Defensive-wise, 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 5 passes defended, couple INTs. So, right there, you had Harrison Smith, Ivan Pace, both came in with interceptions. Pace has now had an interception in both, or got a turnover in each game against the Lions this season. So, I'm looking forward to part 3. In the meantime, let's go with that. Y'all saw the Van Ginkel hit on Gibbs. Oh my gosh. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was broken. I wasn't hoping for it, no, because I don't do that. I wouldn't have been sad. No, that's still bad to say. No, I don't ever wish for injuries. I'm glad nobody got hurt. But, getting unloaded on him. The fact that he wasn't hearing footsteps. Maybe he was and he just played through it. Maybe he's still hearing those footsteps now. I think I would be if I took that hit from Gink because, oh, my God, he lit him up. Pro Bowler and second-team All-Pro, Andrew Van Ginkel. Kudos to you. You're getting paid this offseason, my friend. Jonathan Grenard had another sack. He had a couple of TFLs. Dallas Turner didn't really do on the stat sheet. He had a tackle on there. But he was being disruptive. He was, granted, he only played a little more than a third of the snaps on the defense, which at this point, can we get him in the game more? It's 2 of the last 3 games, or maybe it's 3 of the last 4 that I've been watching, and see him in his limited snaps being disruptive. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he's getting in there. There's been a couple times in the last couple weeks where he was like half a second behind, just laying a huge sack, just lighting up. Like he hit Goff hard once this last week too. So get him on the field more, please. All right, offensively, we'll talk a little bit of that. Darnold, okay, here's what I'll say for Darnold. Again, everybody has bad weeks. Everybody has bad games. Nobody goes through an entire season looking like the second coming of Joe Montana. Nobody goes through an entire season looking like the reincarnation of Reggie White. It doesn't happen. That said, last time the Vikings played the Rams, which back in week 7, Darnold went for 240 and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So I'm not even going to talk about his last week's game anymore. We mentioned it. We addressed it. It was bad. That's it. On to the next. It's playoff time. It's do or die. Everybody brings their A game or you go home. But I'll say the running game last week was impressive. 144 combo yards between the two of them. 110 of them were rushing yards. 34 of them were receiving yards. And granted, Akers had that 158-yard rush that kind of skews it. But, I mean, there was only 16 attempts in the game, which I get it. By the end of the game, you're passing the ball more. But there should have been more attempts earlier in the game. Like I said, first quarter only had 3. There's only 3 attempts in the first quarter. I'm not going to dwell on it anymore because every time I go back to that stat, it kind of infuriates me. It's like the running game will work. The running game will work. It would have worked. It would have kept the game closer. All right, stop. Go back. All right, receiving highlights. Not a whole lot, but at least we'll talk about one other thing. Each of the last 2 games, the Rams have given up. No, sorry. Second last. The Rams. Okay. No, we're sorry. I caught up myself. I tried to jump ahead. Rewind. Just go into wide receivers. Wide receiver talk. Justin Jefferson's going to get his. Addison's going to get his. They were both, obviously with not a whole lot of passing going on last week, or not a lot of successful passing. Yeah, but the last time we played against the Rams, Jefferson went 8 catches for 115 yards. The tight ends combined for 3 catches on 40 yards. One of them was a touchdown to Josh Oliver. The other touchdown pass in that game was to Trent Sherfield. Anybody could score in this one. Anybody could score. Reichert, also another guy having his worst game of the year. You could probably say that earlier one where he missed 2 field goals but he was playing with a hurt quad in that one. I'm not going to hold that against him at all. This one, I think the lights were just too bright for a rookie kicker. Granted, he played at Alabama. He'd been under plenty of lights, but whatever. It just didn't happen. So shake that one off. He was 2 for 2 and 2 for 2 in the last game against the Rams. So I'm not worried about him at all. Let's talk about the Rams. We're already familiar with them. Played them earlier this year. This will be the 49th time in history that the 2 teams play against each other. Minnesota has won 27 games, lost 19, and they tied twice. Minnesota is also 5-2 against the Rams in postseason play. There you go. I believe the Rams have also won the last 3, including in week 8. Was it 7 or 8? Week 8, when we played the Rams. 30-20 was the end score. It was plenty closer than that because of that controversial missed face mask call in the end zone that gave the Rams 2 extra points, took the ball away from the Vikings, giving them no opportunity to try and march downfield. So there's that. The other thing I need to mention, obviously, is the Rams rested basically all their starters last week. So Stafford, Kupp, Williams, all those guys had an extra week to recuperate, get fresh. And when I get to the injury report, you'll get another indication of how it's benefiting the Rams a lot. Anywho, the Rams, on the other hand, offensively, they have thrown for more than 198 yards in one of their last 6 games, not including last week when Stafford wasn't playing. So that, yeah, I mean, our team going up against a team that gives up a lot of passing yards. I bet they go over 200 this week against us, but they're not going to be able to run the ball. So they're going to have to rely on the pass. And if the Vikings can hold off that pass, I mean, the advantage also now for us is we know Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are going to be playing more than a day in advance. We didn't know until the day before that Puka was going to play in that Thursday night game. We didn't know till the day of Cooper Kupp was going to play in that Thursday night game. And they both showed up. And I didn't think, well, I was totally sure that both of them were not going to play. And probably not Puka, but then Puka suited up, and then Kupp suited up. And then, I mean, Vikings, I think it was Beeflo even said basically, like, we weren't expecting that. We had basically throw all that together in a practice the day before. Like, just, it was bad timing, short week, whatever. It's going to be different this time. The Rams are a good team, but Vikings are going to come up. But yeah, 200 yards passing in one of the last 6 games before week 18. Stafford, last time against the Vikings, threw for 279 and 4. Williams ran for 97 yards, but on 23 carries, which is like barely 4.2 yards a carry. Not great. That's a lot of carries to get. You're really determined to get him yardage, and 97 yards. That's a good day. But again, when you're doing it with 23 carries, it's like they're not going to be able to win the game doing that without being able to move the ball through the air like they did last time. Cooper Kupp, 7 catches for 106 yards. Puka Nacua, 5 catches for 51 yards and a score. Demarcus Robinson, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 35 yards. Fluky. But those are the things that happened last time we played for the offense for the Rams. Defensively, it's really quite juicy when I went through all the numbers. First of all, they're averaging 7.57 yards per passing attempt, 7th most in the NFL. Now, these next 3 stats are all based on just among the active teams. Those are the teams that are in the playoffs. 11.6 yards per reception, 2nd most of the 14 playoff teams. 29 receiving touchdowns allowed, 2nd most of the remaining 14 playoff teams. 130 rushing yards per game allowed, 2nd most. The defense on paper, I mean, you compare it to the rest of the NFL, yeah, the Rams defenses were good. They were better the last few weeks. They moved up. But the problem is, more than half the teams aren't active anymore. You got to measure teams against what you're playing. You got to measure against what you're playing against. Vikings are going to run the ball all over, up and down the backs of the Rams. It's going to be Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. Cam Akers getting some revenge game sweetness in this one. I want to see a Cam Akers touchdown so bad. So bad. He did score last week. I want to see him score again this week. I want to see it happen. Defensive standouts for the Rams. Jared Verse, their rookie. Good chance he could be a defensive rookie of the year. He's a Pro Bowler. He had 66 tackles and 4.5 sacks on the season, but he hasn't had a sack since week 10. So I feel like maybe he's wearing down a little bit. Either way, he's quick, he's athletic, he can make problems for the Vikings on defense. Cameron Curl, 79 tackles. For a defensive back, 79 tackles, good number. 49 of them solo tackles. He can hit you and take you down all by himself. 9 pass defense, leads the team in that category. And 7 of them came in the last 7 games. So he's active. He's all over the place. He's potent. Byron Young, if you might know his name from the last game. He was the guy who grabbed Sammy by the face mask and got the safety. So there's that. But he also leads no, I don't think he leads. He's got 7.5 sacks on the year and 12 tackles for losses. He's a backfield guy. He's going to make things difficult. He's going to put pressure on Darnold. He's going to be able to stop the run at times. If they're not blocking, if he doesn't get blocked, whoever's blocking him, Brandel or Robinson, O'Neal, whoever, he's going to cause some issues. Vikings would do good to have 2 tight ends in there a lot this week, I think. Whether it's Mont, Hawkinson. Oliver, freaking call up Nick Muse. Just put a 4 tight end on the roster this week. Oh, another thing. Vikings have activated Daniel Jones. They moved him up from the 53-man roster. Do not expect to see him in any game time unless it becomes a complete laugher and one team is up by like 3 scores in the fourth quarter, which I don't foresee happening in this one. Yeah, I don't think it will happen. I'd love it to because I think the Vikings are going to win it, like I said already. But, yeah, so Daniel Jones, he's been activated to the 53-man roster. He'll be the backup quarterback, not just the emergency now, which also means that should someone else sign him after the season's over, we would get some kind of compensatory pick, I believe, based on what he was signed for. I don't know. It's complicated. I'll look into it some more and get back to y'all on a later episode. Because, I don't think this is the last episode. It's definitely not the last episode. I don't think it's the last game for the Vikings either. But I will continue to do some of these episodes. But we're not even done yet. We're not even done with this one. Why am I getting to the end already? All right. Stop it. Here we go. Injury report. Patrick Jones still, he got the knee thing. I have not looked at the injury report yet today as of Saturday. But the last I saw, he had not practiced yet this week, I don't believe. Also, Aaron Jones has been limited for the first 2 days of practice. But again, I didn't check today. If he gets in a full practice, I have no worries whatsoever. If it's anything other than full, I worry a little bit about how much playing time he gets. But at the same time, I don't worry a lot because I am confident in Cam Akers' ability to break off plays when he needs to and get yards. As long as we don't ask him to just run up the middle over and over again. Not his strong suit. But again, he can get around the tackles and make things happen. He can slip, just inside the tackle like he did last week. I think that was off inside the right tackle, inside O'Neal. That 58-yard he ran out. Pretty beautiful play. Beautiful blocking on that play, too. Kudos to everybody who did their job on that one. So there's that. But and then on the other side of the ball, the only worthwhile injury to note for the Rams would be Havenstein. He's one of their offensive linemen. He might be the only guy on the team who, would there really be anybody else? He was on the team when the team was still in St. Louis. So it's been a while. So yeah, he's a very, very long in the tooth player, but he's really solid blocker. He's started 11 games for them already this year. He's had, I think, started 8 games for them in all but one of his seasons, and that was due to injury shortened. They only played in 6 that 1 year. But dude's a hardcore worker, just great blocker, awesome person. Yeah, nothing but respect for him. But he's the only notable injury on the Rams side of the injury report. Betting wise, Vikings are at -140. Rams are at +115. That is as of Friday night. I forgot to update my numbers for today, but I'm sure they didn't change a whole lot. Yesterday, the Vikings were +2.5. Today, I saw that they were +2, -2.5 yesterday, -2 today, Saturday. Actually, the spread does concern me a little bit because before they announced that the game was going to be moved to Arizona, the Vikings were -1, and that only went up to -2.5 on Friday, and it has now gone down to -2 Saturday. So it's either somebody knows something, or it's just the NFL trying to get people to bet the other way because, it was almost 50-50 on the spread when I looked at the numbers, the betting numbers, money-wise and betting-wise. So a lot of people, I think it's with that small of a spread, that's basically saying people are like, okay, if I think the Rams, or if I think the 2.5 points or the 2 points for the Rams is enough, I might as well pick them to win, kind of a thing, which. No, Vikings are winning by 2 scores. They're winning by at least 8 points or more than 8 points. So it'd be I don't know. Over-under's 48. Say 31-22. There we go. There's my prediction. 31-22. 9-point victory. All right. Or 31-20. No, let's just make it 31-21. Make it 10. We'll just call it a wash on the season between the two of us. Problem is, we get the win now. We go on, and their season's done. Sorry, Rams fans. Love you guys. Big fan of Matt Stafford. But it's over. Vikings are going to pull this one up. My anytime touchdown prediction for the Vikings, again, failed last week again. But it also failed for the Lions. So we're going to play this game again. I'm going to say anytime touchdown Jordan Addison for the Vikings. And for the Rams, I'm going to say Cooper Kupp. So if my jinx continues to work, then don't use Cooper Kupp in your playoff fantasy football lineups. I'm not. So there's that. All right. So that'll be, we'll wrap it up. Thank you for watching the Undroppables, the Uncovered Vikings podcast with me. Thank you for tuning in to the Undroppables Network. We appreciate you guys. We're having a lot of fun doing this. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I'm having fun watching the other guys do this. And then hopefully, if things work out correctly, because we could talk a little bit before I close out. Let's talk about potential playoff picture going forward. Should the Vikings win, which they will, the only team they cannot play next week would be the Eagles. Yes, because the Eagles are the 2 seed. So, no, we could play the Eagles. Never mind. It's the Packers. Packers are the only team we can't play next week. If the Packers beat the Eagles, then we play the Lions because we're the – no. I had this all right yesterday. I spat it out to my wife like 4 times and a couple of my coworkers. So, Vikings are the 5th seed. The Eagles win. They're the higher of the 2 seeds. They have to play – well, they would play the – okay, so the Buccaneers are the 3 seed. If the Bucs win, they would play the Eagles, and we would play the Lions. If the Packers win, they play the Lions, and we play the winner of the Bucs and Commanders game. If the Commanders win and the Eagles win, we would play the Eagles. If the Commanders win and the Packers win, we would play the Commanders. So there we go. So I'm going to throw it out there for my undroppables, and I'll also mention it in group chat or whatever too. Is I know we've got Eagles and Commanders guys. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. If the Vikings are facing one of you guys next week, let's throw it down on screen together. Let's have it out. Let's have some fun. Like to go collab. But in the meantime, thank you again for tuning in. I am RabbitDad. You can find me at FFRabbitDad on Twitter, on Reddit, on Blue Sky. And thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching. Skol Vikes. We're going to win this one. We're going on to the next round. And I think we're playing the Lions next week. Tune in for the next one.